Hello and welcome to another video. And this case it's gonna be a character guide. And as you can see on the screen and probably on the miniature on the title of the video, it's gonna be a version of Shalltear. In this occasion it's gonna be the fictional idol Shalltear, also known as idol Shalltear or mage Shalltear. So we're gonna be taking a look at the skills of the character, the accessories, everything about what's going on her, and then I'm gonna be telling you what are my recommendations for a team around her, a team with her, and what is overall what I would recommend in this scenario if you have the character and are thinking if she is worth leveling up, or if you already have her level up, if she is worth using at this point. So first of all, we can see that she is a mage class character with three categories: area of effect, finisher, and reducing the turn meter. Those are basically Shalltear specialties, so you know what you're getting into when you try to level her up and upgrade her. We can see that she has a very poor physical defense, having only a C there, and mediocre or kind of average magical defense for a mage, being a B rating there, as well as a B on speed, which means that she is not a fast character at all, and it's a little bit more into the slow side. But she has two nice stats: one A on HP and one S on attack on her basic attributes. So we can see basically she is just like all the other mages in this game, kind of like a heavy hitter kind of character. With the accessories here, we can see that at tier level 3 she obtains 5% damage boost, tier 6 she obtains 10% more health, and tier 9 she obtains 10% extra attack. So you can see that I have almost 30k combat power with her. She's by no means one of my main characters or one of my main, mages or all of that. But she has been in this game for a long time. I have found a lot of matches against characters, well, against teams with her and so. And I got her like some months ago. So I am pretty sure I can tell you how to use this character at least properly. Now, the skills. You can see this is not a max character because, the same reasons that I said. It's not a max character. The only thing that is max is her passive skill. But this is going to be more than enough for me to show you later on what it's about this character and how it performs on the battlefield. As you can see here, the basic attack is just a little bit of magical damage based on her total attack. It can be from 105% to 120%, and she will obtain one stack of Fan Admiration if the skill is level 4 or more. Fan Admiration is right here. It's a buff that increases the damage dealt by 5% per stack, can be stacked up 5 times, and cannot be dispelled, so the enemies cannot take away this from her. And at max stacks, that means that she is gonna be able to increase her own damage dealt by 25%, which is a pretty nice multiplier, honestly. So let's go for the next skill, that is the passive skill of the character, and that is all about the Fan Admiration. Basically, upon using this active skill, gains one stack of Fan Admiration. That means that every time you use some skill, she will obtain one stack. That means that if you use the normal attack, the Showtime, and it's level 4 or more, at the end of the day, it's gonna obtain 2 stacks, and she will obtain one stack of Fan Admiration for each enemy below 80% HP. At 5 stacks, she will unleash the Herbit Hex. And what is the Herbit Hex? Basically, it's this thing right here. It has a different name here. I don't know why, but it is this one. This third point deals magical damage equal to 125% attack to the enemy with the lowest health percentage, and she will gain a 100% basic chance to inflict magical defense down on the target for 2 rounds. After dealing damage, she will have 50% basic chance to inflict healing block for 2 rounds on the enemy, and removes all the stacks of one admiration upon unleashing the Heartbeat Hex. I told you it was this one. But it's not only that. Also, this thing that is called the heart palpitating stagecraft is activated every time an enemy dies. And 4 consecutive uses of this skill and pre or post use ruling is made only once. That means that this has a limited amount of uses. If you're, for example, in wave combat, where you have to clear uh, 4 or a screen of 5 enemies, and then all other 5 are gonna come in, things like that, is not gonna be activated that much. The second point basically is that every time someone dies, she is gonna trigger the heart palpitating stagecraft. So it's basically 2 ways in which she can activate or make use of the fan admiration stacks. One is if someone dies, she will instantly target the enemy with the lowest health percentage on the battlefield, dealing a very good amount of damage with a chance of decreasing their magical defense by 40%, or if someone gets on their 80% HP and she reaches 5 stacks. So there's 2 ways that she can do extra damage that counts as out of turn damage for anyone curious. So yeah, things like the stars relic set, or the how it's called, or the hot pursuit enhancement for the relics. Those things increase the damage of uh the Heartbeat Hex attack. So yeah, it works like that. Counts as an out of turn attack, and that attack, even if it's an out of turn, cannot be countered by things like Yellow Bout, Arclight, or anything like that. So it's like uh, it's something almost immune to any kind of retaliation from the enemy. But anyway, if you upgrade this skill, she will obtain she will heal 3% health for each attack that she removes. That means that after unleashing the Heartbeat Hex, she's gonna be able to recover a total of 15% HP uh, in a single moment, in a single action, but only at 5 stars, which is not what the majority of people will have the character. So take that in consideration. Now, the next skill, the Masquerade of Love, she's gonna deal magical damage equal to certain percentage of attack. This case, 60%, and yeah, it's gonna remain in that amount. Before hitting the primary target, she has 70% basic chance to dispel 2 buffs. That means that she can take away 2 of the enemy buffs when using this skill. At max level, that will increase to 100% basic chance. And before hitting a random target, she will have 50% basic chance to dispel other 2 buffs, and she will gain 1 stack of fan admiration for each buff dispelled. Since this is an area of effect skill, she can, hit up to 3 targets, I think, at this point, and she can basically take away. She has more chances of taking away the enemy buffs from the main target than the collateral, the secondary targets. But still, she has a chance. And not only that, but she also has 100% basic chance to inflict buff block on the primary target that lasts for 2 rounds before dealing the damage. So this is the first thing that is gonna take effect on the skill. Putting buff block, then she will run the chances of dispelling 2 buffs from the main target, and then she will run her chances of dispelling buffs from the secondary targets. Also, hitting a random target will grant a 35% basic chance to inflict buff block for 2 rounds. That means the secondary targets. This is the primary, and this is secondary ones, the ones that you're not, attacking. And she will obtain 1 stack of fan admiration. This is basically the main skill for you to gain fan admiration. You try to dispel as much buffs as you can from the enemy, and give her, or well, trying to give her the 5 admiration stacks so she instantly triggers the Heartbeat Hex. Now, the ultimate, the Path of Brilliance, the same name that one event on this game. She will obtain immediately 2 stacks of unadmiration before this skill gets casted. That means that she will have an increase of at least extra 10% damage dealt. She will deal a ton of damage based on her attack, and it's going to be converted into magical damage all the way from 132% to 156%. And hitting will grant a 100% basic chance to reduce the target's turn meter by 10%, plus 2% multiplied by the number of stacks of Fun Admiration after dealing damage. That means that can be 10% plus 2% per 5 stacks, per 5, because the max number of stacks that Shalltear can hold is 5. After she reaches 5, she triggers the Heartbeat Hex. That means that uh, this skill is what gives her the turn meter etiquette, or the turn meter, look on her profile. This is basically the main skill that makes Shalltear, or at least this version of Shalltear, being incredibly annoying, but also incredibly useful, depending on, of course, the game mode and if you have her on your team or it's fighting you. At 6 stars, she will obtain 1 stack of admiration for each target whose turn meter is below 50%. Turn meter is the line that appears on the bottom screen where the icons of the heads of the characters are moving constantly. If the enemies are in the left side of the screen after she uses the skill, that counts as below 50%. She will obtain that boost. Or if the enemies are on the right side, that means that they are over the 50% turn meter boost, and she will not obtain that benefit. So, what usually this skill does, or well, this skill set is that her ultimate is the heavy hitter. The ultimate is what hits the hardest. It's what annoys the enemy the most because it's what is gonna throw their turn meter back. And usually, because Shalltear has Beyond Speed, she is not the first character to play, so you probably have either other mage or ranger play before her, so that enemy lowers the enemy health, she obtains at least 1 stack of an admiration, and by the time Shalltear turn comes in and she uses the ultimate, she's gonna be able to throw the enemy's turn meter back at least like 14%, and then she's gonna be able to, proc the Heartbeat Hex with the passive skill, hopefully killing someone, and that trigger of the Heartbeat Hex killing the enemy with the lowest health percentage will trigger the second mode of activation of the Heartbeat Hex. That is when someone dies, gets activated another time on the enemy with the lowest health. So that will basically get activated another time and kill someone else, and if you get lucky, that will get activated on someone else and kill them, and so on. So you can start a chain reaction where if all the enemies are low health and someone dies, she has a chance of killing everyone, attack by attack, like triggering her passive over and over again. So this is why Shalltear is a finisher on this game. Very much one of the first finishers on this game, and certainly I think it was the first finisher from an event. And if it's not this Shalltear, it's Maidel Velo. It's one of the two. Now, the awakening levels. As you can see here, I only have her to level 15. I don't have more upgrades on her. I don't have the runes, but I can show you, for example. And well, the reason I don't have the runes is because I don't use her that much, so at least not on my levels and things that I'm doing. So I don't really need the upgrades and anything like that. But the first thing that I would recommend you to use there is this one, the first gem, and the one that is at level 20, because it's the same type of gem. It's gonna be the energy gem attack that increases it by a percentage. Because if we compare it to the other kind of gem that increases the attack, both are the same rarity. One increases it by 2.5%, the other by 30 points, 30 flat points. And increasing 2.5% attack on someone that has 7,104 attack, it's way better. So I would recommend that one. But for example, I have here the perfect example. If you can, achieve to get this at least to the third upgrade, it's gonna be 4%. The 5 upgrade is gonna be even 6.5%, and then it can be 10%. For the gem that is at level 10 and level 25, I would recommend you this one, the My Gem Effect Precision, because this will play into, her second skill as well as her ultimate. Her second skill has basic chances of dispelling enemy buffs from both the main target and the secondary targets, but it's base chance, it's not a fixed chance. That means that if the enemy has enough effect resistance, it can, resist the attack. Sorry for that noise. That means that it can resist that attack, or well, that effect in that case. So there is a chance that Shalltear will not put buff block on the enemy, and there is a chance that she cannot dispel the enemy buffs, in both cases the main target and the secondary targets. And for the ultimate, the basic chance runs on, the possibility of throwing the turn meter back on the enemy. So if it's not successful because the enemy has, for example, is Lopus Regina and she uses her ultimate, so everyone has like extra 45% effect resistance, there is a chance that Shalltear will not move the turn meter of anyone. So one of her most useful, skills is gonna be wasted. So a little bit of effect precision will help her to, uh, assure to you, or be more reliable in uh, dispelling enemy buffs, putting buff block on the enemies, and then throwing their meter back. And in case I didn't explain, I think I didn't explain. Buff block is basically very self-explanatory. When someone has buff block, they cannot get any buffs for the amount of duration of turns that buff block last. So, if for example I have a Pandora actor on my team and I have a Shalltear, a Valkyrie Shalltear, and Valkyrie Shalltear has buff block, if I throw any skill of Pandora's actor that will, give from 2 to 4 buffs to the allies, as long as Shalltear has buff block, she is not gonna get any kind of buff from any ally. So that is buff block, and that is why it can be, important, because buff block can prevent enemies from gaining things like Indomitable. Indomitable basically keeps the enemies alive at 1 point of health, even when they receive lethal damage from one entire round. So you can prevent them from basically cheating death, or you can prevent them from receiving a ton of buffs from Pandora's actor or from other type of characters. You can prevent them from obtaining shields and things like that. Now, the rare gem, I will recommend you either this one that increases the speed or the one that increases the attack. Either way, both are useful. The one that increases the speed can help because Shalltear is kind of slow, or the one that increases attack if you want to go all in into her best basic attribute, which is attack. These ones repeat because it's the same slot, so you can use the same attack and increase in effect precision. It's not problem there. And the class, the class exclusive gem, I will use this one, the power gem damage, because the other is just a little bit of attack and plain amounts. This one, for example, if you can upgrade it at least 2 times, like I did here, your character is gonna have a extra damage boost of 3.2%, which doesn't sound like a lot. I know, but is a little bit. Is at least something that you are adding to your character. And because not everyone is able to get to the awakening level 30, and so, like me, for example, uh, you're fine with just the first 15 levels. There's not much problem there. You're not really gonna struggle that much. Now, the relic sets. For the relic sets, I have 3 recommendations. Here it is one, but my other 2 are, well, a little bit here. The game recommends you Crimson, Termination, and Sunset. I do not. Well, one no. I do recommend Sunset, Termination, but instead of Crimson, I do recommend Vertmare instead because of the utility. Now, what do they give? Let me find Vertmare first. Here it is. Vertmare increases your critical chance and you obtain 40% chance to reduce the skill cooldown by 1 round after the skill. So you have a chance that when Shalltear throws her ultimate, she will reduce instantly one round of her cooldown, so she can have her ultimate one turn faster than usual and throw it again, you know? The same goes for the second skill. And if you combine something like, Shalltear ultimate with this set, the Vertmare set, and then someone like Pestonia ultimate or the SSR Clementine second skill, you can basically reduce the cooldown of the ultimate, instantly give Shalltear another turn, and she will be able to throw two ultimates in a row. That means double turn meter, regression for the enemy, a ton of area of effect magical damage to the enemy, and that will give Shalltear certainly more than 5 admiration stacks, fan admiration stacks. So she's gonna be able to proc her passive at least one time guaranteed. Hopefully, that will kill one enemy and start a chain reaction to kill everyone. So Vermar is for utility. So you will have all the helpful skill set from Shalltear more than the damage. You will have still the damage, but you will be focusing on getting more the utility from her. That is the buff dispelling, the buff block, and the turn mirror manipulation that she has on the ultimate. Now, for example, here you see that I have sunset set. And why so? If someone has already seen my guides, know that I almost all the time recommend on mages either termination or Vermare. Why sunset here? Basically because I'm playing into the B speed on Shalltear. B speed means that she doesn't have a lot, so she's gonna be always like the third or even fourth character to play on my team, regardless of what kind of teams I'm using, because there's little amount of characters with C on speed, so almost all the low characters have B. And what does Sunset gives? Extra attack, in this case 15%, and the bonus effect that she will deal 7.5% extra damage for every 20% lost by the target. And this combos into her passive skill. Because remember that she obtains fan admiration stacks every time the enemy gets under 80% health. So when an enemy gets, let's say, at 79% health, after I use another mage or another ranger to attack one enemy before Shalltear turn, Shalltear already has one fan admiration stack for that enemy going under 80%, so she obtains extra 5% damage dealt. And then, because the enemy is missing at that, in that case, 21% health, the sunset set activates and she will obtain another 7.5% extra damage. That means that she will have a total of 13.5% extra health. Oh, sorry, 12.5% extra health. 12 point extra health. Am I crazy? 12.5% extra damage. Sorry, my bad there. Uh, so she will already, before her even before she even gets a turn to play, she is already enjoying the sunset bonus alongside her passive skill. And if she throws the ultimate, and let's say that the RFFX skill lowers the other three enemies on their 80% HP, and the main target that was already damaged by your other ranger gets like 40% health because it was already weakened and all of that, that means that she will obtain the extra 7.5% health from all the other characters that are under 80% health every time she targets them, and the one that is already at 40% health or even less will give her even more than 7.5% extra damage, plus all the admiration stacks that she will obtain at that moment will make her instantly proc the Herbit Hex, the passive skill, and she will have, because of this increased damage with Sunset, she will have a pretty high chance of killing the original target, the first one that got hurt, that is under 40% health in this case. She will have a high chance of killing it. And with that, I can either start the chain reaction and kill everyone, one right after the other, like with an original Momon ultimate, or I can just weaken the next enemy. So I can kill it the next turn, if the enemy doesn't get a heal or something like that. And when I kill it the next turn, that surely will proc the chain reaction and give me the win. That's why I use the sunset set, because by the time she plays, the enemy will already be hurted, so she will enjoy this bonus. And the termination one that is right here, basically also increases her critical chance, like Vermare said, and not like a Sunset that increases the attack instead of critical chance, and gives the bonus that she is able to nullify 30% of the target defense when she attacks. That is really nice because allows her for potential one shots, that you can set up some kind of big ultimate, like buffing her a lot with Pandora's Actor, or someone like big team with increased damage and so, or either instead of that lowering the enemy health enough with other characters, so when Shalltear plays she can kill them all in a single ultimate use, something like that. That is why termination will be really good. Allows you for potential one shots and ending the game quickly, because there are multiple teams that like to stall the game with multiple shields, healings, invulnerabilities, and all of that. And when they stall the game, they reach the point where even the tanks can deal thousands of damage with no problem and they kill you. So uh, that will be perfect to avoid that kind of game or that kind of teams to try and kill them, even tanks, because 30% of their defense nullified is a lot. Now, for the relic sub attributes, I'm gonna show you two things. One, well, I can show you even three, one for each kind of set that I said. Here, you can see on my Sunset Mask, I have A on health, A on crit, B on reduction to the damage over time, and S on damage boost. Here the important for me was the health and the damage boost. Health so she doesn't die so quickly by another area of effect skill from the enemies. S on damage boost because she's a mage and I want to increase all of her damage as much as possible. Especially because she has S on attack and because she is a finisher. Now here on the Sunset Plane, Sunset Plum Plate, B on critical damage, A on critical damage resistance, those are in this case useless, S on magical defense, and S on attack. Mainly I put this one because the S on attack, but also having a little bit of magical defense is really good. Like in this case, 10% will allow her, alongside the other helmet that I show you that gives a little bit of HP, that will allow her to be able to withstand, for example, enemy mages attacks, like another idle Shalltear or a Demiurge or an Albedo ultimate that will, do tons of damage to all the squishy characters, like her, for example. With this extra 10% magical defense and that 7% extra health will allow her to survive, which is kind of nice. Now, I don't have a Sunset Longbow. I put a Champion Longsword. In case you didn't know, to enjoy a relic set, you only need 3 pieces of that set, so you don't need to put everything from the same. Can be 3, and the last one you change it for whatever you need. In this case, I did so. And I like everything on this relic. 4 A's, 1 for magical defense, 1 for physical defense, 1 on attack, and 1 on speed. Magical and physical defense are not really what you should prioritize, but if you get it, it's nice. Sorry for that interruption. It's weird. No one talks to me, and then I start recording, and messages magically appear. Uh, anyway, uh, you should not prioritize defense over magical defense in this case. But if you get it, it's a nice extra. That way, your character doesn't magically disappear from the battlefield when an enemy area of effect skill takes place, and you can still play your character. And A on attack, A on speed, really good. A on attack, you're playing to the strong side of the character. The S rating on attack, that is really nice. The better, the more attack and the better ratings you can get here on the sub attribute, is the better she's gonna be performing on all of her skills. And A on speed, really really nice because she is a slow character, so you will need to give her a little bit so she can at least be a little bit on par with the other characters that have A rating on speed. Finally, the base here, what I have is this. I like this one a lot, basically. Double A, double S. The double A corresponds to physical defense and effect precision. The double S are for health and attack. Here, I already told you why defense is decent here, a nice extra. S on health, I already had 7% extra health. Now I have extra 9.5%, which is nice. 14% effect precision here is really good. Remember that her second skill effects as well as her ultimate effect depend on effect precision or the enemy having low effect resistance. Because we don't know how much effect resistance the enemy has when you're on multiplayer or when you're going into things like the how it's called, the demonic tower or the holy ruins, the high levels, because you don't really know what to expect or you don't know how much the enemy is gonna have. Or you can go and go for the guaranteed uh, upgrade on the effect precision, so you know that you're gonna be able to put the effects on the enemy and not rely on them having low effect resistance. Because the only way you know if they have it or not is when you're on the battlefield and you keep the button pressed on the enemy, so you can see their stats when you are on the field. And then is on attack. Extra 10% attack. It's really, really good attack. Like S on attack in a relic, and then you put that on a character with S rating on attack on the basic attributes. That is wonderful. That is really, really nice. That is basically the best thing you can get. Now, before I go and show you the other two variants of the relic sets with their stats and all of that, I'm gonna go to the relic enhancements because the relic enhancements are gonna be all the same for the two relic sets. At least, on my opinion, it should be the same relic enhancements. And here I have a really nice example of what I will recommend you. That is this one. For me, in my opinion, you have two kinds of enhancements. You have the basic ones and the special ones. For example, this Blade Round is the normal one. You recognize it because they have 10 levels and give you something, simple like extra attack. And then you have the special ones. There are this one that give you a special effect, in this case increasing the area of effect skill by a certain percentage, and not only just a little bit of attack and that's it. If you have the chance of getting one hit kill, this special enhancement, level up as much as you can. Because this plays into her second skill and into her ultimate. And her ultimate deals a ton of damage. So imagine you get it to level 3. Like, you get it here. You're gonna have an ultimate skill that is an area of effect that is gonna throw everyone's turn meter back by at least 10%. And if you have, for example, uh, Eins, the Supreme Being, the original one, and you use negative burst skill on the enemies, the first turn that you can, or you have something like Tank Sisita to lower the enemy defense, magical defense, and then you throw this ultimate, you're gonna be throwing a heavy hit to all the enemies on the screen that is gonna get boosted by extra 16%, or extra 23%, or extra 10, or extra 5. You can basically transform Idol Shalltear ultimate into a nuke. Just like, for example, what Victim does. Victim is basically a living nuke. So you can make that with Shalltear as well without Shalltear dying. Because, when Victim ults, he usually dies or remains with with 1 HP. So, in my opinion, one hit kill should be like your priority, your number one on the list of enhancements to get. And get, as much enhancements as you can on that, as much levels. Then Blade Round, in the case of Sunset Blade, is, I will say, better than the others that I'm gonna tell you, but it's up to you. From level 1 to 5 increases your attack on certain amount, but from level 6 to level 10 increases it by a percentage as well, which is kind of nice because if you manage to get level 10, for example, it's gonna be extra 20% attack plus 600 plain or flat attack, which is really nice. Of course, getting to level 10 is incredibly hard as a free to play player because you will not have that many elixirs to use and all of that. But something realistic to aim for will be level 6. And level 6, that 8% extra attack, you're gonna notice it. I assure you, you're gonna notice it. And if Shalltear is going into your top 4 strongest characters in combat power level, you're gonna see an increase of like 400 combat power at the very least. Now, after one hit kill and after Blade Round, if you're using Vertmare set or termination set, I will recommend you punch for punch because increases your critical hit chances by a percentage from level 1 to 5, from level 6 to 10. Also, aside of increasing your critical chance, increases your damage boost, just like the relics do. So that is a really nice one if you're going with termination or Vertmare set, because those sets already give you critical chance, give you 15. So you can have that 15 plus, for example, here extra 9 or 11 or 13 or 16 or even 20%. And then you combine getting crit once or twice on your relics, and you're gonna be able to have a Shalltear with like 60% critical chance, which is really nice. If you're going into the Sunset one, I recommend you more Blade Round because Sunset set doesn't give you the extra crit, instead gives you attack. So you can guarantee that Shalltear hits are gonna be really, really powerful, and you don't have to depend on RNG to know if you're gonna do a critical hit or you're gonna do a normal hit or whatever. But if you're running or you want to run Vertmare and Termination, punch for punch is really nice. The same level 6. Try to get level 6. The other one that I recommend you is this one. Is Stranded. Stranded is a special enhancement as well. This one uh, makes that the targets inflicted with control skills receive a certain percentage more skill damage. The percentage varies by depending on the level. The level 2 that I have here is extra 12% more skill damage, which is honestly kind of nice. Can go up to 20%, 30%, even 40%. At level 1 is just 6, but it's okay. Control skills, what does the game mean by that? That means when the enemies are either silenced, like for example, when they get attacked by Nigredo ultimate, that is example. When they get stunned, like for example, when you throw SR Yuri ultimate into someone, they get stunned when they have like little stars moving around their heads and something like that. Or Seshi ultimate, that also stuns the enemies. And when the enemies are also frozen, that includes only one character, that is basically Sariusu, when he uses either his ultimate skill on or when he puts 3 stacks of his passive on the enemies and they get freeze on place. They became like a statue. They became a nice statue right there. And when the enemies are taunted, that is, for example, when you use Tank Sisita basic attack, or Shasuri ultimate, or Tank Albedo ultimate. That is when the enemies have like little red signs on their heads and they throw a basic attack against the enemy that taunted them instead of throwing a skill or something like that. Those are control skills. So if you combine Shalltear with any tank that can do some of those things, like stun, freeze, silence, or taunt, or a warrior that can do that as well, uh, she's gonna be able to be performing even better if you put this enhancement, because she will enjoy doing extra damage, because the extra damage will lower the enemy health even more. That means that she's gonna have her fan admiration stacks faster, and she's gonna be able to finish them off faster in less rounds than you will expect, or less actions. So for my case, or in my perspective, you should focus on one hit kill, stranded, blade round, and then punch for punch. If you want to, also get more, I will recommend you. I don't find it here. Let me show you. I will recommend you Unirin Shot. Like, let me give you an example of someone with Unirin Shot. My Nigredo right here. And just let it load a little bit here. Let's go here. Unirin Shot is this one. From level 1 to 5, increases your effect precision by a percentage. From level 6 to 10, aside of giving you effect precision, also gives you extra speed. Extra speed is never bad in any character, so you're not wasting any kind of stat there. And the effect precision will help you with the second and the ultimate skill. If you're going for a Shalltear that aims at achieving a one-shot kill, you can ignore this part because you will have to go full damage or full critical damage. But if you want to go for a Shalltear that is, not only a damage dealer on your team, but it's also someone that provides utility with the special effects that she puts, a little bit of effect precision is not bad. Like, you could get a punch for punch or blade round to level 6, there's not a problem with that. The special enhancement as well, and if you're running out of elixirs or whatever, you can let this thing be level 4, level 5, like 10%, 11%, 14% extra effect precision, plus the 8% that you can get on the first gem, well, the second slot of the gems in awakening level is gonna be fine. And a little bit that you might have got by accident on the relics, that is fine. That is good. You don't have any problem with that. So that would be my recommendation on the sub attributes and the relic enhancements on Sunset Flame set. For the people wanting, for example, the termination set. For people that want the termination set, I'm gonna go and show you this set that I have on my Maidol level. You can see here, termination set, prismatic quality, and everything. The only thing that is not termination there is the helmet. Like, this is a warrior helmet, but you can use this one. My Anthem has a termination mask. You can aim for something like this. Triple S1C. The important part here will be the S on crit and the S on speed. That is what we're gonna aim on termination set. As you can see here on my termination armor, what I prioritize here is crit attack and effect precision. Crit and attack will, allow Shalltear to do heavy damage to the enemy, especially crit because, that is higher numbers than the normal attack. And if you're going for termination, you almost guarantee are going for critical hits. And the extra effect precision, the AP, is really nice because, the effects that she puts and everything I already explained. The weapon, the Termination Blunderbuss here is good because it gives speed, damage boost, and crit. Increasing all the strong side, all the strong points of the character. The same for the Termination base. More crit, more attack, more speed. If you want like another example of that, I have it right here. Another Termination Blunderbuss, what it gives, critical chance, critical damage, and attack. 3 A's, 1 S. This is a Sunset Plum Blade with S on speed, S on defense, B on crit, A on attack. That is a really nice example. Termination base, this one will be for the B on attack and double A on speed and damage boost. And termination mask. C on HP, okay, that was a little bit of a bummer, but anyway. And triple S, one on effect resistance, that is not relevant right now. And one on speed as well as one on crit. That is, the goal. If you go for termination set, your main targets, your main sub attributes here to aim are critical chance and speed. After that, it's gonna be attack and either critical damage or speed. If you're going for, let me go for Idle Shelter again. If you're going for sunset, sunset set, this one that it looks like Peroncino, what you should aim is something like this. S on attack, A on effect precision, a little bit of defense, and a little bit of health. In this case, I have A on defense, S on health, and then try to give, a little bit of extra attack in the other relics, try to have the 4 relics with attack, and maybe 1 or 2 with extra speed, and something like damage boost as well, like you can see here. Now, the other example, if you want to run Vertmare to get the ultimate faster or run the combo that I said with Pestoni and so, this is the main example. Here, the helmet going for crit, A on crit, B on critical damage, B on magical defense, S on effect precision, 20 effect precision in just a single relic. That is really nice. Then we have this Vertmare leather armor, A on critical chance, A on defense, S on reduction to the damage over time, and S on attack. Here the important parts are the 2 on the top. A on critical chance, S on attack. That is your main goal. Here the Vertmare base, A on damage boost, A on health, B on speed, S on crit. All of those 4 are really good. If you can get one of these, it will be really fine for your character. And then the Vertmare dagger. C on attack, a little bit bad. A on damage boost is nice, and double S, 1 on effect precision and 1 on crit. Another extra 20% effect precision and 9.5% critical chance. That is a lot. And if you don't believe me that is a lot of crit, let me show you the character that has that set. A total of 81.2% critical chance with 44.4% effect precision. That is really, really nice. That is almost a guaranteed critical hit. And because Shalltear can, hit out of turn with her passive and all of that, even if she didn't crit during her turn with the skill, she can crit when she triggers her passive skill, the Heartbeat Hex. So you can, that way, be sure that you're gonna see Shalltear do some heavy damage with critical hits every now and then, even if she doesn't crit or you don't get very lucky with the critical hits or with how much she crits. So those will be my recommendations for the three sets: Sunset set, Termination set, and the Vertmare set. Vertmare set, you're going for the utility, so you prioritize critical chance, the effect precision, and of course, the extra damage boost that you can get or critical damage. That way, she's gonna be attacking slow, but when she attacks, she's gonna be sure to put the effects on the enemies, and she's gonna hit a lot. If you go for termination, you're going full damage. You're going either full attack or full critical damage. So she's gonna play, do a lot of damage, and you try to save her to play her again later on that match. And if you're going sunset, you're trying to do a lot of damage, but you're not trying to one-shot the enemy. You're trying to finish off the enemy. So you're already in a strategy where you are gonna weaken the enemy first before Shalltear's turn, and when Shalltear's turn comes in, she's gonna be your executioner. She's gonna be the one that makes sure that the enemies die and that they stay dead. Because there is a little mechanic that the game doesn't tell you here, but I have seen a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you. Here you can pause the video or whatever. Nothing here, nothing tells you that she can hit dead targets again or targets that resurrect after using her skill. Doesn't tell you anything about that. And it's because at the time that this Shalltear was released, only Valkyrie Shalltear and the Dead Knight were able to come back from the dead. And that wasn't really a problem because they were balanced characters. Unlike right now, that if one character revives, like for example Limited Nave, she immediately gets a turn, she immediately gets her cooldown of the ultimate reduced to nothing, so she can spam it, and she can one shot, and she steals health from the one that she marks and whatever. Like, very OP characters, right? Well, you can use this character, this Shalltear, to counter the characters that revive, because in the case of, for example, Limited Nave, now let me show you the characters in case you don't know them. In case of the Dead Knight, that is this one. In case of the SSR solution, this one. In case of Valkyrie Shalltear, in case of Victim, this is Victim. This is Valkyrie Shalltear. In the case of Limited Nave as well, this one right here, that those characters revive in one way or another. Like Shalltear revives with the health of her last turn plus another percentage. Nave will steal the health from someone that she marks, and based on that health is what she's gonna have. Like Victim will revive with 1 HP. This solution will basically heal someone to full HP, but that someone is not gonna have a turn. Dead Knight is gonna revive with certain percentage of his max HP, and that's it. All of those characters that revive, Shalltear can proc the skill again. Like, let's say that the Dead Knight gets killed. The Dead Knight gets killed on Shalltear ultimate skill after, I don't know, some rounds. And what happens when this character dies is that upon death, he resurrects with a max HP reduced to 80%. That used to be a different effect, like it was just 60%, but if you have it 5 stars, it's gonna be extra 20, so it's 80%. What happens here? This plays exactly into Shalltear's skill, into her passive, because the moment the Dead Knight revives, Shalltear immediately gets Fan Admiration stacks, because this character gets up to 80% health, and she needs enemies with 80% health or less to get the Fan Admiration stacks. So the moment this character revives, she gets a stack. And if she already had 4 stacks, for example, she will gain the 5 stack, she will proc her passive skill, and that proc of the passive skill is gonna hurt this guy again. And if, for example, If in the same turn that the Dead Knight died and someone else died, like let's say there was, I don't know, a Mare on the team, and both got killed by Shalltear ultimate skill in the single action in that same move, the moment that the first one of the two died, let's say that the Dead Knight died, the proc on someone's death from Shalltear passive goes to Mare. Mare dies. The proc from Mare should be wasted because all of those are dead. Well, there's no, in this case, in this situation, I'm putting you only two enemies instead of four or five. Okay, just an example. In that case, there's no one else. You should win, right? And she doesn't have to proc this stack again because there's no one alive. Well, this stack gets like saved until this character revives. The moment the Dead Knight revives, Shalltear is gonna proc the skill. It's gonna proc the passive skill because Mare died and there was someone still alive on the game. That was this guy reviving. So this guy revives with 80% health, then gets hurt by the passive of Shalltear, and then if that HP that she took away with that proc of the Heartbeat Hex, it's enough to give her more stacks. She can proc it again and kill the character. So she can basically counter characters that revive. She can kill them even in the same action that they revive. For things like this solution, when she puts the special bouncing guard on someone that basically heals them and all of that clears their effects, if Shalltear has enough damage, can kill them. Like if solution revived a squishy character, like someone really really fragile, Shalltear can kill them again. But if she revives a tank, well, probably the tank is gonna survive because it has a ton of HP and so. So it depends on what is targeting there. Big Team basically here revives with 1 HP. Here it is. Triggered after that, grants a 100% fixed chance to resurrect with 1 HP and gain turn meter boost. The moment he resurrects, if Shalltear is not stunned, because Big Team can stun, if she is not stunned by any character, she can proc the passive as soon as Big Team revives with 1 HP and kill him again, because being 1 HP immediately gives Shalltear fan admiration stacks and makes her proc the passive. And because he will be, a Big Team will be at 1 HP, he immediately gets targeted because he's the enemy with the lowest health. So he revives only to get killed again by Shalltear. That will proc Big Team ultimate again and all of that, yeah. And that will be like a double-edged sword. But still, if you want to get rid of Big Team easily and quickly, then you have Shalltear for that. In the other cases, for example, here or of the limited Nave, this one right here, the passive, she revives here, resets her ultimate, blah blah blah, extra turn, and 60% of the current health of the Thunder Mark bearer, capped at 240% of Nave physical defense. What happens is that this Nave always targets with that mark enemies with high attack. So it's much more probable that Nave will target someone like Nigredo with B on health and S on attack than someone like Shalltear, the Valkyrie one, that has S on HP and C on attack, or Kokyutos, the tank version that has again S on health, C on attack. So when Nave resurrects and steals health from the enemy, she will get very low health because she will be stealing health from rangers or mages with already low health, even at max capability. So she will immediately be under 80% HP because she has S on HP. That means that she has a lot. She will be immediately under 80%, and that will mean that Shalltear gets a stack and she can proc it and all of that again. And if she gets lucky, she can kill Nave and continue. Same for Shalltear. The only difference with Shalltear regarding the other characters that I said is that gameplay wise, she doesn't exactly revive. When the others revive, you see their bodies disappear from the screen, from the battlefield, and then reappearing, something like that. And sometimes even when they're reviving, the game even lags a little bit because it's loading the character again and all of that. When Shalltear dies, she triggers time reversal with 5 round cooldown, that restores her HP to the state at the end of her last action. That means the last time she got a turn, and additionally restore 40% of her max HP. She usually revives with full HP or with like 80% HP. So she is the hardest character to counter with that Shalltear from the ones that revive, but she can get counter in case that her last turn she had already low HP, something like that. But uh, her body doesn't disappear from the battlefield. She just gets an effect from like a clock that appears on the screen, and she gets healed and all of that. So there's sometimes where Shalltear will proc it, will proc the passive. Idle Shalltear will proc her passive, but on another enemy. Instead of like almost all the time, if there is someone else alive with this Shalltear, Idle Shalltear will target the other enemy instead of Valkyrie Shalltear because she will revive with a ton of HP. But if she is like the last one standing or something similar, you can counter her. She can revive and immediately get hurt by Idle Shalltear, and if she has good effect precision, she will lower her magical defense 40%, allowing for a potential one shot the next turn, things like that. So now that I said all the intricacies that I know about her skills, all my recommendations on the relics, awakening, sub attributes, and relic enhancements, we reach the final part that might be the most important part for the majority of people that may be watching this. The themes and compositions to play around or with Idle Shalltear. First of all, she is a mage, a magical damage character, so a magical damage team is very, very good for her, plays into her really nice. What does that include? That includes things like this Albedo, the normal one, the original, because she deals a ton of magical damage, area of effect damage. And she can put this skill, the Demonic Whispers, that put damage aggravation and makes the enemies take 30% more damage. She can make that into one specific target that you want to one shot, and then you can throw Shalltear Ultimate to try and achieve that one shot on the enemy. Other characters that are really good are Victim. Victim deals a ton of damage, a ton of magical damage, can crit by a ton, and dispels enemy buffs, makes useless the enemy relics for 2 rounds and things like that. And he, with the second skill, can throw this, an area of explosion, and can put magical defense down. The same debuff that Shalltear puts that lowers their health lowers their magical defense by 40%. Victim can do it too. And Victim can do it more accurately because Shalltear can do it in just one target when she's hitting with the passive. Victim can do that to everyone because it's an area of effect skill. And both have beyond speed, so you can manage to make Victim play before Shalltear and lower their magical defense. So when Shalltear plays, Shalltear already will be doing extra damage to the enemies because of that. And if you combine that with like the sunset set that I told you for the extra damage when she plays and all of that, you can basically achieve a 2-shot kill, one with Victim, one attack with Shalltear. Other characters that are really good are these two tanks. This one is Hemuske. Is not that good comparison with the next one that I'm gonna tell you, but it's nice because the passive skill increases everyone's attack based on Hamuske's physical defense and makes them do true damage. That means that Shalltear will be able to have an extra damage boost on her skills and extra armor because this character gives that to everyone. So she's not that squishy. And this Shalltear will be basically the best friend. Sorry, this Shizu, this Chisita, will be the best friend of your Idle Shalltear because of two things: the captain skill and the ultimate. Here, the captain skill is the easy part to get. When she is alive in the battlefield, all enemies' magical defense gets decreased by 15%. On all allies' magical defense increased by 15%. That means that your Shalltear will be stronger against mages, and the mages will be weaker against her. Well, everyone will be weaker against her because she does magical damage. And then the fire out skill. Just by a particular point of this skill, and it's this one, almost the last point. Targets in the coordinated lock, that is a debuff that Shizu puts on her ultimate. Targets in that state deal 10% less damage and take 20% more magical damage. So enemies will already have 15% less magical damage. Sorry, they will have 15% less magical defense. They will deal 10% less damage and receive extra 20% more magical damage. And if you combine that with a victim that can throw a debuff that puts their magical defense in a, in 40% lower value, that can lower their magical defense 40% more, you're literally stripping away almost all the enemy defenses. And then your Shalltear will be basically almost always dealing true damage to the enemy. Will destroy your enemy immediately. And because they deal less damage, even if the enemies play before you, like an Albedo, they will do less damage and they will not be able to one-shot your Shalltear unless there's like a pay-to-win Seshi or something like that. Other characters that really play well in her is Pestonia. This one right here. For multiple reasons. One, Pestonia is a healer, so if Shalltear gets hurt, Pestonia heals her. Second, her passive, the Divine Persuasion. Basically, when Pestonia heals someone, the main target that she healed is gonna have a special effect during his next 2 attacks, and that special effect is that is gonna silence the enemy. That means that you can heal Shalltear, and then Shalltear will attack whoever you want, and if the target survives, even the passive skill of Shalltear, they're gonna be silenced. So the next turn of that enemy, they're not gonna be able to retaliate more than with a basic attack. And not only that, but also the ultimate. Ultimate purifies 3 debuffs, that is always good. Heals by a decent amount of health depending on Pestonia's max HP. And also gives 100% turn meter boost upon healing to the main target. So you can make someone basically have another turn, another extra turn. And if you have Pestonia Arclight, that is incredibly good. Not only you increase her healing if the ally is low on health and all of that, but also gives you this special effect. Reduces the cooldown of the primary target random skill by 1 round, and you have a 25% chance to reduce the cooldown of the primary target random skill by 1 additional round. Can be triggered 3 times, that means it can be used 3 times on the battlefield. Basically, you can do is throw Shalltear ultimate on her first turn, then Pestonia ultimate on Shalltear. Shalltear will play again, and she will have already from 1 to 2 rounds of her cooldown reduced on the ultimate. So she can spam it the very next turn. If you combine that with a Vertmare set on Shalltear when she ults, if the Vertmare set got activated, you may have this skill again. Because Pestonia is gonna reduce it at least by 1 round. That is 1. Vertmare can reduce it by another round. That is 2 rounds. This is a 3-round cooldown. So you still need 1 more, right? No. Because the 100% turn meter boost from Pestonia will make Shalltear play again. Every time a character gets a turn, they get 1 round reduced on their cooldowns. That means that will be the 3rd round. That will be the last one you need to reduce to get the ultimate. So the moment that a Vertmare set activates on Shalltear, you use the Pestonia ultimate with her Arclight on Shalltear, and she gets the very next turn after Pestonia, you get a second ultimate again. So you have 2 turns of idle Shalltear almost in a row, and those 2 turns will have ultimate. And you could obviously abuse that skill or that combination. Of course, it will not always happen because Vertmare set has only a 40% chance of doing that, but when it happens, it's incredibly good. When it doesn't, okay, you can use the second skill or whatever and enjoy that you have a second turn with Shalltear faster than the enemy expected and all of that. So it's still good. Other character that plays into that for the same reasons, but a little bit worse, is Clementine. Clementine increases everyone's attack, the more stacks she has on her passive, and she can basically give a little bit of healing, chases with her ultimate, with her basic attack after using her ultimate. That is, extra heal, okay, decent. But the important part here is the second skill. Second skill gives invulnerability to someone for 2 rounds. 2 rounds invulnerability. And not only that, but she reduces the ultimate skill cooldown of all allies by 1 round, except herself. That means you can use that with Pestonia, or instead of Pestonia, to achieve the same combo that I told you. And, the invulnerability is really nice because no one will be able to take away your Shalltear during 2 turns. unless a specific bug happens. A specific bug happens that sometimes Seshi Ultimate is able to strip away invulnerability, sometimes it doesn't. The ideal thing is that she is not able to do that because invulnerability is that, cannot be taken away or anything. But there is a bug that I think is intentional, so people stay play Seshi and pay for her and all of that. But anyway, that is another thing. That is, let's say, quotes, a bug. But still, invulnerability for 2 rounds, cooldown reduction by 1 round, then and a 3 round cooldown skill that you can use Vertmare to reduce it. You can almost keep permanently someone in invulnerability state. You can use that, so your Shalltear is safe and sound without any problem in the world against the enemies, and even if she has, poor defenses and all of that. So you can keep her safe, even if your tank already died or all of those things. So there is those healers to play into her ultimate and do some crazy combos. Other one is Pandora's Actor. Pandora's Actor is another good healer for her because he will instantly give multiple buffs to the ally with the highest attack. That means in this case will be Shalltear, unless you have something like Victimer, right? But in this case will be Shalltear, ideally. So Pandora's Actor will be able to give multiple buffs to Shalltear that he will steal from the enemy or copy from the enemy on the ultimate skill. And with the Phantom Blitz, he's gonna be able to give random buffs to Shalltear because she will be the highest attack member. And it will be all of that. All you have here, it can be above, well, multiple buffs from all of here. That can include things like lifesteal of 35%, like an increase of 40% attack, like 30% extra speed, like debuff immunity or invincibility. So you will play a little bit with the RNG because you don't know what you're gonna get, but you can basically uh, either give a normal buff to Shalltear, like extra defense, extra, speed or something like that, or you can give her a ton of extra damage, so she literally one shots. Depending on the stars of your Pandora's Actor and how many buffs he has during the moment he plays. But he's a really good option if you have him and if he's upgraded and all of that. Another character that can be played with her is basically what I call turn meter manipulation team. What is a turn meter manipulation team? It's a team that does exactly what Shalltear did with the ultimate. Manipulates the turn meter in her favor, either by boosting herself or throwing back the enemies. One good example is this solution. This solution will basically obtain extra turn meter boost for every enemy with a special debuff that she puts. So she throws the ultimate and then immediately boosts her own turn meter so she gets a turn faster. And her captain skill is that after the first turn on the game, by either someone on your team or the enemy team, she will gain 50% turn meter boost. That is a ton. That will guarantee that she has the second turn always. And after her first turn, after the first action of solution, she's gonna reduce all the enemies turn meter by 25%. That means that she's gonna throw back the enemies and make them wait even longer for them to get a turn. So you can use solution at the start of the game to throw the enemies turn meter back. At some point in the game, you have Shalltear turn to throw the enemy's turn meter back another 10% plus 2% multiplied by the number of fan admiration stacks that she has. That is really nice. So you have double manipulation there. You have then Victim. Victim can accelerate his own turn meter boost every time he dies for the first time on the match. So he can, grant himself another extra turn, something like that sometimes. Or you can use him just for the ultimate, a ton of damage that can stun the enemies. So even if the enemies get a turn after, Shalltear and Solution, they're gonna be stunned, so they do not play. Can also have this Hamuske, because with the second skill, it's gonna throw the enemy turn meter back by 30%, as well as stunning them. So you can choose one specific enemy that you want to say, "Oh, I hate you. You're never gonna have a turn," and you throw it back all the way to the start of the bar. Others are Seshi and Shalltear. Seshi for the same reason than Hamuske, but on the ultimate. This is gonna be a heavy hit skill that is gonna stun the enemy as well and throw it 30% back on their turn meter and steal it for her. So Seshi will get a boost while the enemy gets decreased on the turn meter. And it's kind of OP, but you will have a ranger that also manipulates it. Another is Shalltear, Valkyrie Shalltear. If she's 5 stars, at the very least 5 stars, and has this skill. Hmm, sorry for that. I don't get it. Someone calls me right now. It's a little bit annoying. Wait a little bit. Sorry for the interruption. It's annoying people. Normally I will try to. Oh shit. Sorry again. Normally no one calls me, no one messages me ever. And then I record and everyone wants to message me and everyone wants to call me. And for the most dumbest reasons ever. Sorry for that. I will normally think about editing that part out, but this is like an hour-long video, and my phone doesn't have a lot of storage, so I cannot put it on the app to edit it and take it out and then export it again and put it all of that. I cannot do that for the moment, and in other cases I will repeat the entire video, do it all over again. But because I am more than an hour on this explanation, all of that, I'm gonna leave it this way, just this occasion. Just in this occasion. I'm not gonna like it, but anyway, just in this occasion. Because it's a lot of time, this thing. And at least today, I don't have more time. I have the time for this, then I have to go to school and be a lot of hours there, and I do a lot of time to my school and then back to my home and all of that. And I have homework and then I have work on the morning and all of those things. So sorry for that. Anyway, the turn meter manipulation team. Uh, Shalltear also can be played there because her second skill at 5 stars throws the turn meter of the enemy that you target by 20%. And puts defense down, and it's a fixed chance, so you're guaranteed to lower the enemy defense as well as throwing his turn meter back. It's very similar to what Hamusuke's second skill does, but more balanced because you can still let the enemy play, unlike with Hamusuke, that you're not only making the enemy turn come slower, but you also don't let the enemy play. So Shalltear has the balanced version of what Hamusuke has. So you have multiple tanks to play on that team. You have Hamusuke, you have Shalltear, then you have a ranger with Seshi, then you have other two mages with big team and with the SSR solution. Turn meter manipulation team. This Pestonia also plays because her ultimate gives 100% turn meter boost to whoever you choose. So it could be to her, it could be to a tank, to a mage, or to that Shalltear, to whoever you want. Can be up to your choice. Then another character that can be played into that is Anniversary Albedo. It's this version right here. It's this Albedo because of two things, the passive and the ultimate. The ultimate will increase 30% the turn meter of someone, as well as giving them debuff immunity, high tier critical damage boost, and indomitable. This will combo really well if you're going for the Vertmare or termination set on Shalltear. If you want to go, critical damage, that will be a really nice increase. She also gives, a lot of other things, takes away enemy shields, debuffs, puts, takes away the enemy buffs, and she can kill, execute, and all of that. She's basically the best healer ever. You can put it and be safe that your team is gonna survive quite a long time. And then you have the passive skill. The passive skill, she can, if your team is full health, she can convert healing into shields, just like Tankokyutos can with the counter attacks. So you can have, shields over and over again at the start of the game. Or, for example, if someone is about to die, she purifies all the debuffs of that someone that is about to die and restore their HP to equal to 25% of Albedo max HP, as well as making them invincible for 2 rounds, giving them high tier effect resistance boost and debuff immunity for 2 rounds. And because of her arc light, when she does that, she also increases their turn meter by 48% in my case, and their HP recovered by 80%. That 1 star is going to be at least an increase of 30% on their turn meter. So you have 2 skills that increase the turn meter in 30%. So you have also Albedo, a healer, to do that as well, aside of Pestonia. And if you want even more, skills to be played into the turn meter manipulation team, you have this the negative burst. The negative burst basically deals damage based on Ain's attack and can put damage aggravation on the enemy. So the enemy will take 30% extra damage. And not only that, but he has a 100% basic chance to reduce the target's turn meter by 7.5%. And for each debuff they have, they will get turn meter reduced by another extra 1.5% per debuff, up to extra 7.5%. That means a maximum of 15%. So if you have something like uh, Seshi, or sorry, pardon, Shizu on your team, Shizu will immediately put two debuffs on the enemy as soon as the game starts. So Ainz will be able to throw the enemy turn meter back on the same action 7.5% plus 3%, 1.5 per debuff. So if you put multiple characters with high speed that put multiple debuffs on them, you can, throw the skill either at the start of the fight or at the end of your turns to throw the turn meter back even more. So you have even one Supreme being one leader that can do that, which is really, really nice. That will be, kind of like a turn meter manipulation team. There's other characters that do that, like this Shalltear can give herself another turn and everything after the ultimate, or this Aura can basically, uh, where it is here, is here, can increase her own turn meter every 3 attacks of her basic attack, every 3 times that she does chases, basically, or every 2 times, depending on the stars. But she doesn't have synergy with Idol Shalltear. Neither of those two characters have synergy with Shalltear, so I do not recommend them, even when they fit the thematic of this team that I'm telling you. This Aura also can boost her own turn meter more with the passive skill. Our turn meter gets boosted by 5% every time the enemy shock triggers. Only thing that can be played into it is that Aura deals a ton of damage and stuns. So you can annoy the enemy by stunning them, and by the time they play, it's gonna be slow because you're gonna be throwing their turn meter back over and over again. By the time they play, they shock multiple times, so Aura gets another turn and attacks them because she has high damage. She's gonna put them in low health, so Shalltear will be able to uh, proc her passive and kill the enemies. But aside of that, there is not much synergy. Other one is not for the turn meter manipulation team. Now we're ending that part. We're going into another one. It's just for a mage team. This Narbarol. This Narbarol basically puts shock with all of her skills except the basic attack. But the important thing here is not that she's just a mage that shocks the enemies and has high damage. The important thing is the captain skill. Enemies with shock have their magical defense reduced by 30%, the double of what Tank Sisita captain skill does. That is why it's incredibly good. The only bad thing is that it's Narvel. If you put Narvel and that Shalltear on the same team, you already have half the team with mages. You will need the other 2 spaces for either double tank or a tank and a healer, something like that. Because if you go full damage, you have the chance that the enemy can retaliate and kill your squishy characters. But if you choose Narveral, you can use Narveral to shock the enemies, try to play her before Shalltear. You shock the enemies, so the enemies have 30% magical defense reduced. You use Tank Sisita with the ultimate to make them take 20% more magical damage, and then you use Shalltear to throw the ultimate and basically go nuts and do incredibly high amounts of damage to the enemy and destroy the enemies. So, yeah, you have that option. You can do that. There's not a problem with that. Not only that, but also Mare is for the turn meter manipulation team with the ultimate and the second skill. He can throw back the enemy's turn meter. He can reduce it, so you can use him. But honestly, Mare is incredibly unbalanced. He should not exist on the game. But anyway, you can use him as an initial mage. The good thing he's gonna be good about is high damage and annoy the enemy with a turn meter reduction. But the bad side of him is that he is incredibly squishy, so he will die almost immediately as soon as the enemy attacks him, and that he doesn't provide anything more about that. So if you want shields, if you want something like that, he doesn't give it to you. The game tells you that he heals, but the healings of him are really really bad, like very low and very scarce. So that will be my recommendations. You want a turn meter manipulation team? Okay, you have solution. You have how it's called, Pestonia. You have big team. You have Seshi. You have big anniversary albedo. You want a magical damage team? Okay, you can have the normal albedo for the area of effect damage. You can have tank Sisita. You can have big team. You can have Hamuske. You can have again that same solution, that same SR Narberol. You can even put this Entoma right here, or sorry, right there on the team, because she does a lot of area of effect damage with the second skill. And if you have her Arc Light, upgraded on the stars, her next skill always deals 20% extra damage, and she will enjoy a 30% extra attack. So after using her ultimate, she's gonna hit like a truck to the enemy. So you can use her because of her damage and her A rate on speed to lower the enemy resistance, to well, not resistance, but lower the enemy health and keep them weak. So when Shalltear plays, Shalltear one shots or does a chain effect where uh, where she kills someone with a passive and reactivates on someone else and kills that and kills the other and kills the other one, and all of that, and constantly goes and kills everyone on the path. Last team I could recommend you is a control team. Control team is what I told you earlier. It's when you either silence the enemies, taunt them, stun them, or freeze them. That means you can play things like Sariusus there to freeze the enemy. He has high damage and can freeze the enemies and counter them so they don't play. Big Team can stun them. You can use Nigredo to silence the enemies or to extend another debuff on them. And in fact, I forgot because I was distracted by the calls and all that. But Nigredo also fits the turn mirror manipulation team, because if she ults someone with the special debuff that she puts, she immediately gets 30% turn mirror boost if she is 6 stars. And if not, she is 5 stars or less, still fits, because every time one enemy with her special debuff moves, Nigredo will have a 25% turn mirror boost. So Nigredo will always be speeding on the turn mirror, and you have a guaranteed character, in this case Nigredo, that is gonna be playing a lot. You're gonna have a lot of turns with her, and she has high damage, can do assist attacks and all of that. So you have overall a very good ranger character that is gonna be constantly harassing the enemy. So you have control team, you have turn mirror manipulation team, you have area of effect magical damage team, and so. For the last team that I was saying, that is the control team, you can use Nigredo for the silence or the extended debuff effects. You can extend stuns, and so you can use Seshi for the stun, you can use Hamuske for the stun, or Big Team for the stun, or Saryusu for the freeze on the enemy. You can also use this aura for the stun, or you can go and use someone like Shasuryu or SR Yuri. Shasuryu for the taunt, SR Yuri for the basic attack. Sorry, for the ultimate, that is a stun. And you can use this Albedo as well for the ultimate skill, the Fourth Lord Ainz. She can basically taunt the entire enemy team. She will basically guarantee you that one enemy is gonna get taunted, but has a very good chance of also taunting all the other enemies at the same time in the same action. Although it depends a little bit on how much effect precision you have on Albedo and how much effect resistance the enemies have. But mostly, if you have this character upgraded and all of that, you're gonna be able to at least taunt consistently 2 enemies every time you ult. So you can keep 2 enemies under control effects with just 1 turn here, and then you can use, I don't know, just to give you an example, this Albedo taunts 2 enemies, Seshi can ult and stun 1 different enemy, and then Shalltear will be able to play last. Well, and before her you can play something like Saryusu to freeze the fourth enemy and keep all the enemies under control, so when Shalltear plays, she does a ton of damage, and she doesn't get retaliated by counter attacks or the enemy playing before her and throwing her an ultimate or something like that. So you have variety. You have magical damage teams. You have turn meter manipulation teams. You have control teams. You have area of effect teams. Obviously, there's not you cannot combine her a lot with critical damage characters like Entoma or Albedo, the main version, but you can from the magical damage characters you can combine her with a lot and still be able to perform very well. Could be in shock teams for the Narvalo synergy with her captain skill, or with the Entoma helping with the ultimate. You can play with Shizu and Albedo for big magical area of effect damage, or big team to try to go for a one shot, two shot composition, things like that. Or you can put Pestonia, you can put Clementine on the same team, Tank Sisita, and then this Shalltear with Vertmare, and they can constantly Pistonia and Clementine can constantly recharge Shalltear ultimate, so she spams it, and Shizu will lower the enemy defense, magical defense, so Shalltear does even more damage, and Shizu also reduces the cooldown of one skill for one round every 4 times that her supplies get activated, her passive skill. So from time to time, you're gonna have even another extra reduction cooldown. Another round, it could be either on the first skill or the ultimate. So you can constantly spam attacks with Shalltear, mainly spam ultimates. But you can, it's up to you what you're gonna use depending on your characters, your level, what doesn't combines you, what do you like, and what do you don't like. Now, very soon, I don't know when, but I plan soon. I'm gonna release the second part of this guide. That is basically the practical guide. I'm gonna go to the arena, and then I'm gonna fight here any teams that I find using the compositions that I just told you. The arena just got reseated into a new season, but no, there's no problem. I can fight and show you some combats. I already have like 10 combats recorded or something like that with some compositions, but I'm still not playing other compositions yet. So I will have to play them in my free time later on. And today, more, some hours later on the afternoon, I have to go to the school, and it's gonna be a long day, and I'm gonna be occupied on the night as well. So usually, I post both parts one after the other. The two in a row. Today, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm gonna post this, and if in 4 hours or so I don't post anything, right after this one, then I'm gonna be taking my time and probably updating the practical part of the guide, the showcase, the next day or something like that. So if you see that, right after this video is something else, something unrelated, it's because of that, because I'm occupied. But I'm gonna post the practical part of Shalltear. Okay, it's gonna be called like this. It's gonna be like Idle Shalltear Guide, practical version part one or something like that. Because there's a lot of teams, I'm gonna do it in parts. One part for a certain number of teams, another part for another amount of teams. So with the character explained, the compositions, the synergy, and all of that, it will be all for today. If someone is here, thanks for hearing my awful voice all this time, hearing me rambling for who knows how long, I don't know yet. And sorry for the interruptions of both the messages and the freaking calls. I assure you, nobody calls me, nobody writes to me. Like, I'm as alone as one can be. But I just want to record, and people suddenly appear and suddenly remember that I exist. And that is annoying. But I will try it to avoid it the next times, okay? I will try to put everything on silence, and I will try the next time. Sorry, this is the only exception, because I was already too long into the explanation and all of that, and I'm lacking time. So thanks for watching, hearing, and being here. And if you have any suggestion for the next guide, next character, and so you can write it, and I will take a look to see if I have the character or if I already did the guide or not. And yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for existing, I guess. And wait for the next part if you're interested in Idle Shalltear. If I were to rate her from 1 to 10, at the start of the game she'll be 10. Oh, well, sorry. She will be a 10 because it was a character that provided a lot of damage, a lot of utility, and she was very OP. But right now, with all the meta characters and so, she's like an 8. Not bad. She is just not broken. Like, she's still kind of balanced character. Because, yeah, she's very powerful, but she's very easy to kill. So that keeps her kind of balanced. Other characters right now are incredibly powerful, incredibly, hard to deal with. But even if you kill them, they revive or they're immune or something like that. Those are broken. She's a balanced character. And she can even counter some of the broken characters nowadays. So she's still a good character. But if you don't have her and you see the banner soon or something like that, try to prioritize what you already have on your teams instead of getting her from zero and upgrading her, unless you like the character too much. But if you already have her and you were thinking about her, yeah, upgrade her if you need, area of effect damage characters. She's incredibly good for Holy Ruins, for Demonic Tower, multi-stage, fights like expedition fights when you need multiple teams. And if you want to do, a special team with a ton of damage to clear the entire enemy team in the multiplayer in 4 rounds or so, you can also add her. It's really good. So with nothing else to say, finally, I guess. Thanks, and until next time. Sorry for the interruption. Sorry for the duration of the video. Okay, just how I am. I ramble and get crazy. Yeah. Until next time.